What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Casey and Michelle, and we are trying for the second time to discuss The Walking Dead Dead City episode 3. And I say that because we recorded this episode last week, or we thought we recorded this episode last week. We were talking, we were having a good time. We got about an hour and 30 minutes in, and I realized that the camera was not recording, that the nothing was recording. And then when I stopped it to check to see how far the recording got, it had only gotten 14 minutes. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I accidentally hit something, if my cat walked across the keyboard. I don't know. But yeah, I had to get my brain right. So here we are once again, episode 3 of the Dead City. And I'm going to start this one off the same way I started off the last time, because I'm going to go ahead and let Casey get what she got to say out the way. Because watching the beginning of this episode, this is all I heard in my head. For those of y'all who are watching, you see it as Casey's screen name. Go ahead and say it, Casey.
Ginny need a whooping. She need a full-fledged whooping. Because how you leave the safety and sanctity of Hilltop, well, we already know it was only one protector at the gate. So she got by real smooth.
See, no, you got to let me have my full rant on that one.
And you will. But nonetheless, she still stole a bike, used that bike clearly on one tank of gas, and got all the way to what is that? The
New York to New York from wherever, or excuse me, New Jersey, from wherever it is that the new Hilltop is,
and found a cooler, got her ass in a cooler, and was able to levitate and balance herself with a little stick to pedal across with no walkers to get to the other side, to get to the island.
And you can't forget to mention that she even left a long time ago Negan when he turned around and walked off.
Goddamn bear. What'd he say? Whole time you've been stuck to my ass like glue. I turned my back for 2 seconds and you took the fuck off. You need a fucking whooping. Or at least a bell tied around the neck.
I just had so many questions about that, because one, we already know from what we've seen of the first part of the final season of Fear the Walking Dead that I don't know where the disconnect is, but we already know that they are not casting these kid actors to portray accurate ages. I don't even know how old Ginny is supposed to be. But
I don't know either.
From what we know about her, she was with her father at a farm. Dad left to go scavenging. She went to go find him, found his body, and she's been mute ever since and sticking to Negan like glue. My question is, did your dad teach you how to travel across the state or from state to state? Because again, we still don't really know where the new Hilltop is located. But the fact that you just got on a bike and all of a sudden found yourself on the New Jersey shore, no map, like you said, Casey, probably no gas. What did she even take food from Hilltop? Did she take that little piece of bread that what's her name left on?
A little sandwich.
Right.
And then how do you have the wherewithal to know the damn cooler gonna float? I wouldn't have thought of that shit.
I wouldn't either. I'm sorry.
The cooler gonna float and I'm gonna make it across.
Well, clearly we can't get in the cooler and float in the igloo cooler. She knew she could, I guess.
Our big ass would be right at the bottom of that goddamn river.
But the other thing I was thinking of was when Negan and Maggie went across the river in a boat, in an actual boat, there were bodies floating in the river. Where bodies? And just even with not just in the river, the whole episode, she done made it to Manhattan. She's going through the streets of Manhattan. You don't see not Ann Walker chasing her. You don't see, like, she's able to even, I guess you can kind of say, evade the walkers. She gets away from one that almost has her leg and nobody is coming after her. And I'm like, does she have like zombie repel on her?
She must.
I just have so many.
But you have to keep in mind that, especially with her not talking, she is super quiet. Like, I benefit of the doubt, she's quiet, so she's able to move and maneuver through walkers, because apparently she walks on fucking air. Because I don't even hear.
So that's all I need is to be quiet, and I can survive.
It's working for this child.
I just
He's whooping.
I just don't. I don't understand it.
Have we even seen her kill a walker?
No.
Remember, even the one Negan killed.
Right.
The one with the bag.
The one in the flashback.
So maybe she still have her Apple phone and Negan has an Apple tag on. She can't find it.
Because that's the other question I had.
I'm just saying.
We
got a tracker on them.
I was like, so you just all of a sudden, like, this grown ass man who obviously knows his way around a walker or two tells you to go to this place, stay put, be safe, stay safe, so I can go do what I need to go do.
Mm-hmm.
And you leave to go find him like he not a whole grown ass man who can take care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you gonna do? You won't even open your mouth to save yourself.
So does that say she cares about him and she wants to make sure he's safe, or she nosy?
I get that. And
I don't know which one it is.
That. Like,
I'm asking which one is it, because she doesn't say anything.
I'm gonna say it's probably that she cares about him. Like, this is a guy who has been taking care of her. You know, kind of. I mean, if you look at that flashback role, Negan is in full daddy mode. He is in full daddy mode, and you know, we get a little bit more backstory about him and Annie and what happened with them. So we know that, I guess, in a way, she's kind of like a substitute for the child that he is no longer around. But it's just like, I understand he's important to you, but what are you gonna do in Manhattan unless she knows how to get there because she's from there? Now, if that's the case, okay, maybe, but also, if you're from Manhattan, then you probably know what the fuck they did to Manhattan. But I don't think so, because if you think so, she looks like she has to be maybe around, I would say probably 13, 14 maybe. When Negan was talking to Tommaso and Amaya, and he was, giving the story about him, but without saying it was him, he said about 12 to 15 years back, this guy came on the scene down south. So that's kind of cementing the time frame for us, somewhere between 12 and 15 years. Of course, they don't know exactly how long, because nobody is exactly keeping up with the calendar at this point. But we know that that's kind of where things are, about 15 years. So that does put Hershel right around maybe 13-ish, 12 at the youngest. Because by the time all this stuff happened with Glenn, Maggie was pregnant, and they had been doing this for maybe close to 3 years, because Judith was just under 2 years old at the time. So that at least gives us a little bit of, a time frame to work with. But if that's the case, Ginny probably wasn't even alive when Manhattan fell. And
no, I don't think she's from. I don't think she's from there. I just think this child is magical, and she knows how to read maps and stuff. And
she didn't have a map to read.
She knows how to.
She know how to read the stars. I don't know.
Because what's the likelihood? I mean, even with Manhattan being shut down, that island is still very big. I know, because when we went to New York to visit, we did a lot of fucking walking.
Right. And subway riding. So
where he was and how to find him, and
right.
Or at least
you end up right there in the vicinity.
Right.
As Manhattan,
or at least enough in an area where one of their people, she dropped her little thing. And so okay, I get it. You followed the person who had your thing because you want your thing back. Maybe not necessarily knowing that they would lead you to Negan, so to say, but
right. I don't know. That whole thing is just weird. It and also, well, okay. So I was gonna say it's
then wait,
also,
hold on. Then what before you go? And then the fact that the person who found the thing, this thing ain't dirty. It's not looking like it's been sitting on the ground for since the bombs went off. It ain't all rusty and dusty, and you see a brand new, damn near brand new toy on the ground. You don't look around and be like,
okay. So let's talk about her real quick, because in that scene, Ginny had she was running away from some walkers. She tried to go one direction. There were a few walkers. She tried to go another direction. She saw some walkers. She was walking backwards and she tripped over the arm of another walker up under a garbage can. Right. And that's how she dropped the dino. She went off to the side and she's kind of looking. Here come this chick with her walking stick. Clank. Clank. I was like, what is that noise? Clank. Do you think these walkers have been turning at the least little bit sound of noise? And you just walking down the street, clank, clank. I was like, wait, I'm so good. Like, don't get me wrong. I like the show. But I have so many questions about some of the stuff that they're doing. Is it just that people are getting careless now? You almost 20 years down the line, you just like, whatever, fuck it. If they come after me, I'm just going to kill them. Is that where we are now?
No, I agree with you. I like the show, but there are little pieces that they're leaving out. Mm-hmm. And I know they want us to make the connections, but some connections don't make quite sense in the world that we live in.
No.
Right.
But I know they're trying to get to their point of the story and they only have so many episodes. But I mean, this girl is like a superhero.
Right. So here's my thing. If you have this story you're trying to tell, stop giving us 6-episode fucking shows. Give us a few more episodes. 8 episodes. Don't try to rush the story. Now I will say this. I do kind of like the pacing of this show because they're not dragging things out. But there are some points that I feel like you do kind of sort of need to like maybe take a little bit more time on.
Make some time in. And then we're going to get to it, but also decisions that some of these characters are making, I don't agree that they would make if we were in the other Walking Dead series. They wouldn't have made those.
I'm going to tell you this. Probably Armstrong would have been dead by now if he was in the other.
He would have in this world. It's not working for him.
Girl, he wouldn't have lasted 2 episodes.
Mm-mm.
First of all, why are you sitting around the whole episode frowning like a fucking toddler about to have a tantrum?
Because you can't get the person you want to get.
But even if you go back to the beginning, not the beginning, but when he first got to Manhattan and he went to the apartment, kicking the fucking door in and just loud.
Like in an apartment building, that's going to have, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. But then also some of the things these walkers are doing ain't not making sense. But okay, we'll leave that for another time.
Let's go ahead and go with that. Let's go ahead and start.
For me, when he kicked the door in, how do walkers know that's where he was?
So that's true, because it took a minute for a walker to come. So they would have had to go to each door. So I'm going to go to a door that looks open.
Well, remember, I said
you have no mind. That. Did you remember you walked down this hall before and that door had a hole in it?
See, that's what I said when we watched that episode. I was like, this makes no sense. That unless he was in there making noise, which he wasn't, he was looking at his brother and putting a blanket over him. None of those things require you to make noise.
None.
But all of a sudden, walkers are in it like, oh, hey, there's a hole in this door where it wasn't before. Yeah. Hey, there might be something in there. Now, I don't know. It could have been something different. They could have smelled him. Who knows how long it's been since he's taken a bath. He's been running through the streets, chasing after Negan, doing this, doing that. So there could be a sense of body odor that they're like, oh, this is something different. Something that might alert them to the fact that somebody is living.
Who says Walker smell you?
Right. Thanks, Hanako. Where we get that from? That's a very.
Oh, no, you're right. Walkers can't smell.
Why can't they
smell? Remember, that's
oh,
why.
that's true. That's true. Sorry.
Look, because we all like, how you?
Yeah, that's what we were like. Okay,
They
yeah, you're right.
They smell.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why you can smear. You can smear their blood.
Genre too long, y'all starting to look. That's what they're doing. We've been doing this for too long. We just gonna get lax. We just gonna forget how this works.
That's not how any of this works.
It's not. But Pearlie Armstrong, like I said, first you're sitting there with a look stuck on your face like you're about to have a tantrum, okay? And I understand you're in a situation you didn't want to be in. You're in this arena, with the Croat, which we're going to get to the Croat in a minute because I have a lot of things to say about him, and they're not necessarily all bad in a sense, but you find yourself in this arena, you're handcuffed. But this guy who has taken you hostage, he comes in and he's showing you what he has done with this place. Oh, he walks in and he was like, oh, it's a little chilly in here, isn't it? And then he makes a show of going to turn the heater on. So almost 20 years into a zombie apocalypse, the Croat is in an arena that has electricity, working AC, working heat. He's putting hot beef stew on the table. They have wine. Where do I sign up? I mean, it's kind of like what we've been saying about Negan with the Sanctuary.
Negan's group.
When you've been out on, like, if I have to choose between being on the streets of Manhattan with what is out there and being inside the arena, I'm a person of comfort. Give me my creature comforts. Is there a bed? I mean, you got electricity. Is there a TV in there? DVD player, some old DVDs? Yeah. I'm sitting my ass inside because I'm not going out there. Have you seen what it looks like? Manhattan probably has 6 million dead walking around. Absolutely not.
And you have to keep in mind, most likely he fashioned the arena after the Sanctuary.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, we'll get to that.
I can agree.
Because I have a lot to say about,
the same general, except everybody ain't walking around talking about I am Croat. No, nobody's doing that. But in the same vein, he probably is the same philosophy theories that Negan started.
It's very obvious that the Croat has a hero worship thing of Negan going on, which is so weird because Negan thinks that the Croat wants to kill him for what he did to him, as far as like casting him out, shooting his ear off, trying to kill him. But if you look around, even the things that the Croat is saying, it's like he's mimicking himself off of Negan, which is very interesting for this show because, we've been talking a lot about Negan and how he's been trying to reform himself, trying to change himself from the person he used to be. So it's very odd in this episode to see somebody else using his same words, his same philosophy. Like literally, it's almost like Negan wrote it down and the Croat studied it word for word, But listening to it come out of the Croat's mouth, it just seems a little more touched than Negan did. And I mean, Negan has been hinting that the Croat is not wrapped too tight in the brain. He's been hinting that. And even with this episode, we see it with the type of things that he does as far as, his people getting high off the methane that's coming from the bodies, the ring that was left in the arena. Apparently there was going to be a big MMA fight when everything went to shit. And the MMA cage is still there. And he holds games, which yeah, it's like listening to that same philosophy come out of his mouth. I feel like in a way it also is supposed to illustrate to the audience just how different Negan is now from the person he was back then. Because even when he was saying it back then, I never took him for crazy, but I was like, oh, he's really believing all this bullshit that he's feeding to everybody. And we realize down the road now, it really wasn't bullshit for him. He really thought that he was saving people. And in a sense, he was. He was just going about it the completely wrong way, or it got to the point where the God complex stuck.
Right. But it's just that that was a character he knew he had to play, and he stuck with the character because you can't falter from the character. You falter from the character, then you're going to have a rise up and somebody else will take over just like how he took over from someone else. Once you get to the point where you have people in a place that they believe this, you got to keep that up. And everyone has to keep it up.
Right. I mean, just it's not too much different from Ezekiel with the kingdom.
Right.
Except, you know, of course, Ezekiel, I don't feel like Ezekiel ever let the whole king title get to his head. Like every time we saw him kind of relishing in that, it was all part of the act.
Yeah, and he had a character. He had a character too. I mean, come on now, because you in the middle of an auditorium stage
with a big ass tiger.
Right. Sorry, that was one of
on
the
a
best
chain.
intros. That was one of the best character intros.
I mean, it is, but that's that. But you had to keep that front up.
Right.
You got to keep that front up so people don't come and try to take over your areas for your people.
Right. Right. But okay.
And you walked around with that confidence because the way he told his story about when beforehand, he didn't seem like a man who was full of confidence. So he lived into he walked into his character. Negan walked into his character, and the Croat, what is his name?
Croat.
He's doing the same thing, but he had a trauma-full, experience though.
So going back, we're gonna come back to the Croat because, like I said, I have things to say about him. Let's go back to my least favorite character of this show so far. Let's go back to Pearlie, okay? Because, like I said, he's there. He's held captive by the Croat, and the Croat is basically giving his sales pitch as far as, look, I just need to know why you're here and who you came with. He was like, look, this is what I'm done. This is what I've built. And he talks to Pearlie about his old profession. He says, I used to be a scientist before all of this. And when I came to this place, I was wondering, I asked the question, what is the most abundant natural resource here? Death. And so basically, he figured out a way to make all of those bodies count. And he, we saw this. He's been putting bodies into like these different tanks. And we were like, what kind of weird governor shit is this on? No, the governor was nowhere near this creative. This dude is using the bodies that are in the city, that are in the sewers, and he's using them to create the gas that powers the whole arena. Basically, as the bodies are breaking down with them being in a compressed space, and I actually wrote down his full description, and I can't find what I did with it. But he, here it is, Wallop. So he says, what is the most abundant natural resource on this island? Death. The sewers are full of it, and as the bodies break down, they produce methane, and because the intermolecular forces are weak, the gas can be pressurized into a liquid fuel at regular temperatures. This dude is powering everything in this arena from the dead bodies. I was like, if he wasn't batshit crazy, do you know what he could have done for the world? Like all of our people, they could have, and hence, here's the other thing about all of humanity and the way that you act when you're in this type of apocalypse situation. Instead of sitting there trying to figure out, okay, how can we pull our smarts, our resources, our experiences, and use it to make the world better? Y'all are instead fighting for
Right.
Who's gonna control this, that, and other? Y'all have the whole fucking planet to yourselves now.
That part.
There is no reason to be fighting like
over nothing.
Right, because we can pull together all of our resources because everyone has some type of skill and we can use that.
What is it Negan says, and the Croat even says it here? People are a resource. That's the way you are supposed to use people as a resource. It didn't have to just be Alexandria with the walls and the solar panels. If someone had come up to them and been like, hey, we also want to live great, but we don't want to encroach on your space. Can you teach us how to do this?
Mhm.
But ain't that what Georgie was supposed to be fucking doing?
Yes.
We ain't even gonna talk. We're not.
But
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Wasn't that what Georgie was supposed to be doing?
Mhm, yes.
And then in a way, Commonwealth's tried to do that when you're trying to figure out what people do and what they did in the past life. But y'all was crazy as fuck. So like y'all,
because y'all were too busy trying to take it back to a broken system.
Right.
A
For the
class
elite
system.
right, to be the elite at the top.
And had they just, figured out what people like and or could do, and then from there, let's pull that around. Let's send you to our sister communities and teach them how to do this, so we can have this. But y'all want to hoard it all to yourselves and be assholes and just
right. And when you think about it, when they first started doing the show, when we first started watching the episodes, my question was, who the hell wants to rule over a city full of the dead? Because my thing is, as easily as Negan and Maggie and even Ginny got onto the island, it has to be a way for them to get off. You know what I'm saying? We see in the episode, they have been using speakers from the arena to lure the walkers to the arena. They have a little parade car going around playing music that's hurting the walkers. So you can do that and get off the island. Why would you want to stay there? And then once he explained what he has done, I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, because right now that really does make you the most important man, period.
Yeah, but with all of that, you have a 1-up. No, you got a 10-up with everybody else, but you're going to go and take other people's resources?
Well,
because you have everything you need. And if you this smart, y'all could be doing some farming on these fucking rooftops and stuff, and irrigation system. You could have this.
But I guess part of the issue with that is the buildings are in such bad shape because of the bombing. Because if you look, even when Ginny gets on the island and you see the structures, most of the tops of those structures are damaged.
Yes,
but there are a lot of bodies in those buildings. I mean, we had,
but some buildings he was on top of, with his little zip lining system.
I don't think that's his zip line. I'm thinking the tribes people put that together.
Okay, but he kind of took over the area, and then they were planning inside the building. You can make it work.
Yeah.
You made,
if you want
your
to,
power work.
Yeah.
But your MA fighting work.
I was watching the episode Insider at the end, and the showrunner describes it as like the Croat kind of sees Negan not necessarily as a father figure, but it does seem like he has that kind of attitude, like, oh, Dad, look at what I did. And I really do feel like that. Like I said, it feels like he kind of has a hero worship thing with Negan. And I don't know, maybe Negan casting him out and trying to kill him, instead of it making him upset and wanting to get revenge. It's one of those things where he's like, I'm going to show him I can do it, and I can do it better. I'm going to prove to him that we can make a true sanctuary. Because if he knows enough about Hershel and Maggie to know about Negan, what Negan has done, and the fact that, oh, he lived amongst your mother's people, that would have been after the Croat left. So obviously he's been keeping tags on Negan. So it's not like he probably couldn't find Negan and kill him at any particular time, especially if Negan is not thinking about the fact that the Croat might be out there just waiting to kill him. it's been 12, 15 years. But
you have to keep in mind, not even thinking about Croat, Negan have made so many enemies over the fucking years.
This is true.
And then if you think about it, with
Rick and them killed most of them.
With all of his people, I am Negan, traveling far and wide. I'm sure people all over, well, at least within the few state radius.
But see, most of the saviors are dead.
I know, but come on, keep in mind, even 15 odd years later, Rick Grimes' name's still rolling around. They know about wars that have happened. They know
may not know names, but they know.
May not know names, but they know that there was a war. Right. So not even just with the saviors, there was a war with the
Whisperers. The Whisperers.
Yeah. So these wars the word of the war is being spread around. Yeah. And who are the leaders of this war? Because remember, Maggie's the widow. Everybody has a pseudonym of what people call them. The widow, the king, what was Rick, the sheriff, all of these things. So
the samurai
are traveling. Yeah. And so it's like Negan had hundreds of followers. Hundreds. And the same way, like Dwight and Sherry have left and moved on, I'm sure there are other people that left and was like, this ain't the life for me. Okay. But so that name carries, and I'm sure, even with Croat leaving, even though, Negan shot him in the head, but, even still, that would have, even if he would have left voluntarily, there's something from that you took from it, and you like, yeah, let me see what I can do. So being Negan, oh, please. In this time, they know about the circle and bashing somebody's head in. How many times have we heard that? With not knowing who it was, but, us as viewers, we know that was Negan. Right. But, people hear stories. Because hell, even remember, Pearlie even said it. There's a story that he did this, and, people in the circle. And how long ago was that? Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. But so anyway, so the Croat is telling Pearlie about all of this, and he's trying to figure out if Pearlie is, a threat or not. He was like, what are you doing here? What are you here for? Who did you bring with you? And of course, Pearlie's sitting there handcuffed to the balcony, still with his frown, looking like he's about to throw a tantrum. And the Croat is explaining all of this stuff and about how they have this thing working and how, systems are in place to make sure that everybody stays safe and this, that, and the other. And as he's cutting into his beef stew, he finds a maggot. Now, the guy who was sitting over to the side, who has been, who came in and set the place and made sure everything was right, which, okay, sidebar real quick. Why is it that whenever civilization starts over, we feel the need to put people in servant positions? Like, what is that? Okay, that's my sidebar. And the fact that it, I'm just glad it wasn't a Black person, but it was an Asian person, so I'm equally offended. But that's a whole other thing.
Why he couldn't have no white servant?
That's a whole other thing. So he basically takes out his anger about this on that guy. He's like, why would you serve me rotten meat? If you don't take care of the meat and you ingest it, it's, it'll decay in your body and then it'll cause you to be sick. So he has this key to the handcuffs that Pearlie has, and he's been kind of like teasing this key. He gets up to go to this guy and he picks up the key and he makes the guy swallow the key. Now I'm sitting here looking like, why the fuck would you do that? And then I realized once the dude swallowed the key, I was like, oh, your ass about to die.
Right. That's why you check the meat.
Right. So the Croat kills him and he throws his body over. And Pearlie is just still sitting there looking like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why would you do that? And the Croat just looks at him like, And I was like, where is this about to go? Because like, Pearlie wasn't the one that tried to give you bad meat. I don't know if it was on purpose or whatever, because when he asked old dude, he was like, did you check the meat? So why would you serve me bad meat? And the guy was about to say, well, actually it was. So I think somebody else I don't know. I'm not even about to get too deep into that.
I just think even if it wasn't the worm, he would have found another reason to kill this man. Because what would be the point of just having and dangling the key around, talk to you? Oh, I'm no, because some kind of way you wanted him to get in this ring and fight for it.
Right. I thought that too. Like
You know what I mean?
You had the key ready, so you already knew that it was going to be him anyway.
It was going to be a reason that
unless Pearlie would have opened up his mouth. Pearlie could have opened up his mouth and said, "Oh, I just came to Manhattan to see if my brother was still alive." I mean, he could have easily. We've been talking about this with other. You could have easily given like a small lie, just like the people at the bar. Right. Y'all gave yourselves away because of the way you acted and the way you responded. Pearlie could have just said, "I just came to see if my brother was still alive." He had the envelope, which, you know, the Croat finds later on. It has a New York address on it, so at least he wasn't lying, and he could have said, "Yeah, went to go find my brother." Blah blah blah. He could have, but like you said, I don't think that was the Croat's MO. He really wanted to see what type of person Pearlie was, because if you look around, it looks like he collects people, which is the same thing that Negan did. He wanted to see what kind of metal you had, what you were made of, and whether or not you would be an asset to his crew. Because again, this is a zombie apocalypse. We have AC, we have heat, we have fresh meat. Why would we share this with you if you're not going to contribute? So I get that. I get it. But the way he
Do you think everybody had to go through the gauntlet?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't.
Well, maybe not the people who were there with him at the beginning. I don't know. But I mean, you have to.
I guess it depends on if he has to break you or not. So if you're the type of person that looks like you know that you're a fighter and you may need to be broken down. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if I'm walking into Manhattan and I just need some help, I don't think I would have to do it to prove myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, I just need some shelter. Help me.
Right. But he also doesn't look like the type of person who's going to give it to you for free.
Hell no.
No. I mean, I'm going to have to do something.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to have to get bodies and throw them in the, the tank and stuff. So.
But the way that he, I guess, proves Pearlie's metal is he takes him downstairs where the arena is. And it's so weird to see all of his people like chanting, like, this is how people act when they go to a real MMA. Right. Like, they're sitting there cheering and whatever. It's like, what are they about to do? He puts Pearlie in the cage and there is a pole in the middle. And he handcuffs him around that pole so he can't move. Then the dude that he just made swallow the key and threw over the balcony, he puts his walker in the cage with Pearlie. So Pearlie has to fight. And I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to work. Because Pearlie he's still sitting there frowning, mad. And I'm like, dude, just wipe your face blank and just do what you need to do. So Pearlie uses the handcuffs when the guy comes back towards him and he has him up against the pole. He uses the handcuffs to wrap around his neck and he decapitates him. And then he looks at the Croat like, okay, let me out. And the Croat is looking at him like, but is that all you got to do? I was looking at the look at his face. He was like,
he looks at him at, you thought it was going to be that easy.
Right,
huh?
Right. So then I think there were some people throwing like bottles and stuff at Pearlie because I guess they wanted the walker to win. I don't know.
Or no, you know how always in the fight, well, that was over quick. Like you
be mad.
You like
they get their money's worth.
Like they know money's worth.
Money. Oh, and then I forgot to mention the fact that before he threw Pearlie in there, he made him inhale some of the methane gas so that he was a little bit disoriented, high, low, whatever you want to call it. Things slowed down a little bit for him. But Pearlie takes one of the broken bottles and he cuts into dude's stomach and then starts digging for the key. I was like, okay, you know what? I will say this for Dead City. They are trying to up the ante on the grossness in the Walking Dead universe, because there have been several times during this series, and we're only 3 episodes in, where I've had to watch and be like, ew, with my face covered, looking through my fingers like, is this over yet? Because that's disgusting. Which you think we would be used to, considering we saw Rick hack open a walker and put his guts all over him. It's like, oh, this should be easy.
Several times.
Several times. You would think this would be easier, but no, this was just gross. And I think it maybe it was the whole thing of you having to go in the man's stomach, because I'm sorry, they did that once before with Daryl when he took apart that walker to see if that walker had Sophia in his stomach or humor. I don't need to see that again.
But we've had a lot of gross walkers. Remember the well walker? We've had a lot of gross ones.
We have. So you would think I would be used to this by now, but no, it's still gross.
Even on Fear, the ones that had the radiation with all the pus and the, they try to be gory and nasty.
Just gross.
Mm-hmm.
But Pearlie has to go into this thing's stomach to get the key to get himself out. But the interesting thing about it was, after he killed that first walker and he gets free, they put more walkers in the cage with him. So he goes over to the side and he tries to take his boot off, and he thinks better of it and switches to the other boot and takes the other boot off and starts, mollywopping the walkers, which is cool. But at this point, the Croat is very observant. And so he has paid attention to the fact that, oh, why did he take that first boot off? What's in there? Now, I don't know if he thought maybe it was a weapon or something like that, which it could be. I mean, think about Maggie's boots and what she stores in them. So it could have been a weapon. Okay. It could have been something else. But all the Croat does is he finds the letter that Pearlie's brother wrote to him. And then he starts reading the letter out loud. And this is where we find out that Mr. High and Mighty, Mr. Righteous, ain't always so righteous with folks, because you had a brother that was addicted to drugs, and your whole family abandoned him. Like, abandoned him to the point where he was like, I don't know why it took me so long to realize that you all had changed your phone numbers. I was like, did he kill somebody while he was on the drugs? Obviously not, because he was free. Right. So you just disown your brother because he was a junkie? And the way that he reacted,
we don't know the
because it could be some other stuff that happened. Yeah.
I mean, I get that, but just the way that he reacted when the Croat was reading that letter, I was like, yeah, you got some heavy guilt.
Yeah.
Something is going on. Like, your brother was in that apartment by himself for a reason.
Right. And guilt that, you didn't get to say what you needed to say at the end.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. Because they probably did it so he could go get help and not always depend like, oh, I'm going to get better this time. And then for a second, and then he steals something out the house and make promises, and then they send them back. So sometimes you got to make a clear cut.
Yeah.
So they can get better. But it was at the wrong time. You don't ever think the world's going to end too at the same time.
Exactly. So you don't think that a zombie apocalypse
you're thinking, okay, they're going to, you're going to get some help, and then we will, get him back.
Yeah. Yeah. But the interesting thing about this whole exchange is, because Pearlie doesn't want to listen to the rest of the letter, he blurts out to the Croat. He was like, it's just me. I'm here by myself. I'm looking for someone. I had 2 partners. They're both dead. And the Croat very sensibly says, who is worth following here? Like, who is so important? Who is so deadly? Who is so whatever that you will follow them to this cesspool of death? And Pearlie says his name is Negan, and the Croat's face is like, oh, daddy's here. I was just like, because he looked a little too
happy about
the fact that Negan was there. Not necessarily happy, like, oh, I'm about to kill him.
Yeah,
it was
like,
oh, I'm about to show him what I did. I'm about to show him all of this.
There was elation.
Right. So we're gonna leave the Croat because we got to go talk about Maggie and Negan and the tribes people and all the shit that's going down with them. I know.
First of all,
I was gonna say, are you gonna say it or am I gonna say it? Because Ginny ain't the only one who need a whooping right now, I feel like.
Everybody's acting bad. Like, everybody. But the number one acting bad was fucking Luther. And at the end of the day, Luther kind of got what he deserved because you shouldn't have been a dick.
This was
right.
Let the man
get
some fucking beeswax for his hand. Like,
just let him have it.
Just give him a little bit. Give him a little bit.
Now, I will say this. After we see what happens at the end with Luther, I feel like he was acting that way because he already knew about the poster. And then, of course, listening to Maggie and Negan give their own kind of accounts about this big threat.
I just had a revelation.
Oh.
Where he gets the fucking poster from? Remember, he took their stuff. Remember in the beginning when they first found Maggie and Negan, they took their bags. He got it out of Maggie's bag.
Or out of Negan's, because I remember Negan
had his own wanted poster.
Yes, remember the first episode? He was like, for a wanted man, I look damn good. I'm gonna keep
this. I thought he was just looking at Maggie's.
No, he said he was gonna keep that poster because he looked good in it.
Okay, so either way, Luther stole it from them.
Yeah. So
okay, I just had
that makes sense in hindsight. But of course, before that, it's kind of like, why are you being a dick about it? But I will say this too. Even though he knew about Negan or suspected, especially once Negan starts talking about the story about the guy who went south. And then when Maggie was like, yeah, whatever it was that they suggested, she was like, yeah, that's what he would do. He and the Croat go way back. And Luther was like, oh, so they friends? She was like, he tried to kill him. He shot his ear off. So, she was at least putting that out there like, no, he's not with this dude now. But I will say this too. Maggie was not helping the situation because Amaya and Tommaso are trying to help. And I get that for whatever reasons. Right now, I think for Amaya, it's about revenge because they came into their place and killed their people. And she's pissed, rightly so. Luther is the one that's like, we ain't finna help y'all. We're not doing this shit. We done already voted about it. And then when he tells Maggie, he was like, you're gonna get us killed. And for what? She was like, for my son, so I could save my son. I was like, and how is that his problem? That's I get it, Maggie.
Don't nobody owe you shit, though.
Right. You were trying to save your son. These people who live here, they don't owe you shit. I would be with Luther, like, why the fuck am I about to risk my life to help you save your son?
Right.
I probably wouldn't have said what Luther said as far as your son is already dead. No, because I'm sorry. Luther might be big, but the way Maggie was looking at him, I really feel like if Negan hadn't killed Luther, Maggie probably would have.
Right. But then you can't expect people to risk their lives for your son.
Right.
Give you a side eye. Okay. Well, here's some supplies. Go for it. But I don't know you or your kid.
Right. And I've already lost some of my people, a whole bunch of my people. And none of that was, let's be honest, none of that. Here's the thing we always say about our people in The Walking Dead. They hadn't lost people and they hadn't gotten raided before Negan and Maggie walked in the door. I mean,
well, no, they had been raided before, but the Croat didn't know it was Negan and Maggie that came on.
It's them. It's them, because that's what I used to say about Rick. Rick comes into town. You just know your little community is over.
Is done. Yes, they bring the fire.
They do.
They do.
If they don't like anything, we don't like how y'all wash clothes. They take it over.
Remember Rick's line? How many of y'all do we have to kill before you see?
They didn't do it on purpose, not always.
Anyway. They did, but every time they encroach on somebody else's space, and they didn't care for it, and it'd be something small sometimes they didn't care for. It's like, we taking over.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I have to say this too. For a long time, Rick and his people survived and others didn't. So they obviously were doing something right. I mean, yes, you're
right, because they killed them.
I mean,
they killed them
again, let's go back to that whole lack of humanity thing. It's a big ass wide world out there, and about 80% of the population are gone. Why are y'all fighting over this one little piece of land here?
Swear to God.
Right. I mean, that is the honest truth, though.
In my house right now, if we have a zombie apocalypse and someone comes on the door knocking and they say, hey, we want your house, guess what? It's a townhouse subdivision right here. There's 3 apartment complexes down the street. You know what? You want this? Fine.
You got it.
I'm gonna go find my own shit because I ain't got time for this. I'm not gonna sit here and survive zombies just to be killed by another motherfucker who's gonna be greedy and want to assert some dominance. What time for that? Got time
because it's plenty. It's actually plenty of space for everyone.
Because it's more dead than live. It's more dead than live. So there's more commercial space, residential space.
And if you've scavenged everything out of your area, go somewhere else. Move.
Do like everybody else did. Make a map, check this area. We went here, we scavenged it.
Because I feel like if you get the mall situated, that could be one full community right there.
And I know
each the small stores can be families living in there. You just have to close your gate in the evening just in case somebody in your family turned into one from just being sick or something like that, a heart attack. You know what I mean?
Think about it. They actually...
The food court can cook the food, heat up stuff.
They did that in Fear the Walking Dead. Remember, they found a mall and they thought it was going to be a place for them. But
somebody was following them. So I'm like, everyone can have their own little space.
Right.
Just take the time and develop your space. Right. Don't try to take my space because I took my time to develop it.
Right. And got it nice and how I want it. Now you want
right. Now you want to take it. Take my resources, my people.
Right. But going back to the group and with Maggie and Negan. Now, like we said, Maggie is sitting here. She's automatically assuming that and I think the problem is, and I know a lot of parents do it, is that we place our children's existence above everyone else. We prioritize it above everyone else. And then we get mad when other people don't prioritize it because we're like, but they're a kid. Yeah, but they're not my kid. You know, and
in this world.
Right. And I mean, even in this day and age now, you have it where parents feel entitled for their children to do or say whatever. And then the people who don't have children for whatever reason, whether they couldn't have or they don't want to have children, they're expected to make concessions for these parents and these children just because, they're children. Okay, but that's your child. You know what I'm saying? Even and even more so with this world.
And that's like remember the man on the plane with the baby who was hollering? Did the baby pay Mo to holler? Like like that. Like, come on.
I mean, and I can understand getting upset about being inconvenienced, but for someone to be like, well, that's a baby, like going to the movies. I'm sorry, I understand. Parents
Get
want to
up,
get out.
get
Parents want
up,
to get out and have some
drive
fun
through,
too. But guess
drive
what?
in.
Right. Because when my
Because I don't want to
children
hear
were
your
baby,
baby screaming through
No,
all.
and I
no,
ain't pay for that.
exactly. So I do feel that, and I mean,
And
I'm
it's
a
okay
person,
if you miss the movie. Don't make us miss the movie. You get up and take them out into the lobby.
right? Exactly. And I'm saying this as a mother of three.
Me too.
My children were back to back, 2 years, and 4 years apart. So I was going to the movies a lot of times with three very small children. If my children started acting up, first of all, back then we were still giving spankings. We were still giving them, you better shut your mouth, blah, 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 blah. And my kids, thankfully, they never cut up like that because they were at the movies. They were like, ooh, we're at the movies.
And I said me too, but not a mother of three. I just had one. But take them to the movies, or we will go right. We would go late when she was asleep too.
Right.
And just be sleeping in there while we watching the movie. Gotta go sometimes at the midnight, 10 o'clock.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But so here, Maggie expecting them to all of them to put
pick up
literally says, you're gonna get us killed. And for what? So I can get my son back. Luther's like, these are my people. I'm tasked with keeping them alive. This is my priority. Fuck about you and this Croat or whatever. I'm trying to keep the rest of my people alive.
I think that's a lot to ask for people you just met.
Right.
You are better off saying, do you have an issue with this guy? Maybe we can work together that you can get what you want and I can get what I want, which is my son.
Not even just people that you met. People that you met and lied to about why you were there in the first place.
True, because you should have came out with that when you first got there. I'm trying to get my son back. Do you have a problem with this person? We can work together.
Right.
But you basically I don't. But when she says it in a way that she basically says, I don't care if you die,
as long as
I get my son. So,
yep. But when she goes off to the side, because again, Luther says, your son is already dead. I don't know why you're not admitting it. And Negan basically has to step in and be like, okay, everybody take 5 minutes, take 5. And she kind of goes off into a different room. She rummages through her backpack and she pulls out this tin canister. And when she opens it up, she has photos. There's a photo of her family on the farm. There's a photo of a woman and a baby. And looking at the photograph, obviously it's not her and Hershel, because where would she have gotten the film developed? It looked like that might have been maybe her as a baby with her mother. And then she pulls out a drawing of Glenn, a very good drawing of Glenn. Now, here's my question. Again, here we go with asking questions that don't quite make sense. So we know that Maggie left behind everything from the farm. We know they've kind of lived a nomadic life. I know that she went to her grandparents' house with Hershel when she first left the group. So she could have gotten the photos from there. But you mean to tell me that in between the different communities where she has been running for her life because the communities got raided, and then she's been on the run, and then with the Commonwealth and everything, you mean to tell me she kept up with all of that? Most of them,
because it was a little tin. She could put that in her pocket, in her side pocket, in her back pocket.
Every community that she ran in.
Yeah. But first of all, how she get the drawing of Glenn?
That's my next question. Who drew Glenn?
Yep, sketch artist. There's one in the hilltop.
It needs to be somebody who that I'm sorry. I understand what y'all are saying. Sketch artist, yeah, you can describe a person to them, whatever. That picture felt very personal. That's somebody who knew his face.
So who drew that? She drew the picture?
I don't know. It could have been her. Maybe Carol. Maybe Daryl. Who else knew?
We never saw their artistry?
Well, I mean, they were kind of on the run for a long time.
I was going to say they weren't in the safe space to draw.
Because even in Alexandria,
pencils and
Yeah, because even in Alexandria, they weren't safe there for very long before the saviors came knocking. The Commonwealth,
Carol was able to bake some great ass cookies. If she was drawing, she could have drawn in the evening time when it was nice and quiet. While we reading stories by the fireplace.
No, because I think even then, Alexandria, that's still too fresh. Because they were living there when all of that happened. So that might have been
right. So it has to it just could have been somebody at the hilltop. It really could have
been let's see, Eugene. It could have been I don't know, it could have been Aaron, could have been somebody, but I'm just saying it was a very nice portrait, and I'm like, y'all got to start warning a sister when y'all are gonna like really tug at the heartstrings, because I'm gonna be honest, I was not expecting to see Glenn physically in the show. Now we've already seen the flashbacks of the circle, which again I was not expecting. I don't need y'all to show me that shit again. And then we see this very beautiful drawing of him. I was like, y'all can't keep doing this.
Right.
But anyway, so Negan comes in to talk to her, and I find it funny, but I also find it very sweet in a way that he's just kind of like, I think in the back of Negan's mind, he knows that Maggie would probably kill him if she had to have, if there was a choice, she probably would. But the fact, I think, that he is still trying to make peace with her, or at least just kind of call a truce while they have to do what they have to do to save Hershel. Again, I find that very telling of the person that he is, as opposed to this person that people keep thinking that they want him to be. You know, it's like he comes in with this baseball cap and he was like, hey, I found this in one of the stores. I remember that first you used to have one like it. I thought you might be able to give it to him when you saw him again. And it's so weird because Maggie is looking at him like she still wants to be mad at him. But you can't really hate somebody who's actively trying to be nice. And I feel like it's genuine on his part. I don't think Negan expects them to be friends. I don't think he expects her to forgive him. But I think he's just like, hey, we don't always have to be at each other's throats. That's not going to help us get your son. You know? And he's just trying to find a way to connect with her to be like, okay, look, we got to meet on some kind of level in order to do what we need to do. Because one, you're not going to save your son fighting with these other people. And two, we definitely can't save your son if we are not on the same page. Like we've been talking about the last couple episodes, you came and got me. So at least let me try to be what I need to be for you to help you get through this so you can get to your son. I like seeing that side of him. And, you know, even when he comes to her, he was like, look, Luther's wrong. Hershel will be fine. He's still alive. You just got to come up with a plan. What's your plan? And what did he say? He said, contrary to popular belief, I can't shut up. And he literally goes over and sits in front of her to listen. And she does open up to him a little bit. She was like, the day that the Croat came for our grain, I told Hershel to hide in a root cellar. You know, she said at that point, he would have went right if I told him to go left. You know, so we already know that there's been tension between her and Hershel. We still don't know why. But she's basically telling him that, you know, he went to go get a stick and a brick like that was going to do something. I called him stupid. He told me to get off his damn back. And those were the last words we said to each other. So now, okay, you know, on top of just her being scared of her son being gone, she also has this guilt because that was the last thing she said to him. And if something happens to him, or even if something happens to her, that's the last thing he's going to remember. So, of course, she's worried about that. So then Negan opens up and finally gives us the answers we've all been wondering since episode 1. First of all, we know that he and Annie had a son named Joshua. and that they were living in a cabin outside of outside of
Babylon.
New Babylon. He said Annie went into town to trade, and by the evening time when she didn't come back, I knew something was wrong. I went and looked for her. I found her, and when I found her, she had been robbed and beaten, and he just kind of looks away uncomfortably, so we can all kind of, fill that in. And he was like, Annie told me not to go do anything stupid, but you know me, I went and found them, all 5 of them. And he said, and I don't even think I meant to kill them, or I don't think I wanted to kill them. I was like, oh, okay, sometimes that's worse.
Because you went in there mad.
Right. You went in there mad and you were like, oh, I'm not going to kill them. And you probably did worse to them, which would...
Especially depending on what they were saying. Because like if they had no remorse about it and they were like teasing him about it.
Oh, yeah. He fucked them up.
Yeah.
But this is... Okay, here's the other thing. And y'all know I said something about this in the first episode about Pearlie Armstrong and his oh so righteous ways, and oh, you killed some marshals and stuff. So if these are the 5 people that Negan is wanted for, you basically telling me that your lawmen are robbers, they're abusers, possibly rapists. Yet you want to catch Negan and hang him upside down and saw him down the middle from groin to head. Again, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. You still got dirty cops. You still got people who feel like that badge makes them untouchable. Because I'm like, Pearlie is so focused on finding Negan. Did you ever stop to think, okay, maybe there's a reason why he did this?
Nope.
Now, granted, I know you.
I would say he's not paying attention. He's not stopping to think about it.
And you can tell that hell just from the first scene, from when he first introduced into the show. He ain't give a fuck. He don't care about none of that.
So Negan says that after he killed the guys, they were on the run a lot, but it was very hard on Annie. And I was just sitting here like, how bad did they hurt her? Like, I'm like, okay, I already feel like this is.
I have a couple of issues.
Okay,
we're gonna go back. 1, why they're not at the Commonwealth? I mean, I don't understand. He helped save it. They could have been one of the outposts for Commonwealth, just living a good life. She could have been they could still be helping the people that they found and had helped in the apartment. Why go off to live in a little cabin outside of New Babylon? I want more information on that, because we're pretending. I feel like we're pretending that the Commonwealth don't exist.
No,
but it does exist.
You know what?
Because we don't mention it, because it's like, even with Hilltop, because Hilltop said that they were going to get resources to rebuild, but she couldn't rebuild, so she had to move Hilltop. Like, where are these people leaving? Is Commonwealth bad again? I'm just wondering. I'm just curious.
I don't think it would be with Ezekiel and Mercer leading.
I'm just saying that. But
I think that goes back to, 1, it could have been that maybe Negan and Annie were there for a while, and then Maggie. So we know at the end of the Walking Dead, Maggie and Negan have this conversation, and she basically tells him, I can't forgive you, but I can see that you are not the same person.
Correct.
And she was like, if you and Annie want to stay, y'all can. You've earned it. But maybe, and this goes back to us talking about Maggie and her lack of development, or her lack of being able to put this behind her. Maybe that got to be too much.
But she's at Hilltop. You still got Oceanside.
Wait a minute. You asked a question. I'm trying to
answer.
I'm just trying to talk it through. Even if you are at Hilltop, okay, right now, all of your communities, y'all are back in this whole trading thing. You got some of your Alexandrian people here. You got some here. You got some here. Now, we know a lot of the people who knew Negan still didn't like him too much. Maybe it got to a point where they started treating him like, okay, you know what? He's not the same bad guy anymore. If they started showing him a little mercy, a little grace, a little bit of, okay, I'm gonna give a little here. Maybe that was too much for Maggie to take. And she was like, okay, I can't be, you know what I'm saying? That could be very well. It could
Yeah, but
Maggie's
not going to the Commonwealth. I can see her staying at Hilltop. And there's so much more Commonwealth people who don't know nothing about them, or maybe some stories. I just feel like with a son, it's really a plot device, I know, because we got to get him closer to New Babylon and for all this stuff to happen, to put him in the right place, her in the right place to meet up so he can help her save her son. I get that. But let's really talk that through. Because one, we're going to stay in Commonwealth. We're going to stay in Commonwealth, especially while she's pregnant, to keep up with her prenatals and delivery. Then you have a kid, you want to stay around just so they can get their shots and whatever they need to go through their childhood.
Maybe they were part of outreach for the Commonwealth. Maybe they were like, okay, we're going to expand here, we're going to expand there. I mean, that's not unheard of.
Now, I can go with that, but they needed to mention that.
But the thing with Maggie, I feel like because Maggie has left the group before, again, I don't see that this would be something outside of normal for her to just up and be like, oh, okay, well, we can't make Hilltop work here, so we're going to take it way over here. And then she took her son with her. That could be a reason why her son pissed at her.
I get that with Maggie, because she's not planting her roots anywhere. I understand that.
At all.
I don't think she wants to. No, I'm not saying that she don't want to. I think she can't do that right now.
Okay. But as far as
I think for her movement, I think movement and going somewhere to start afresh, she needed that. But it didn't show that it helped her yet. So,
but Negan and Annie probably did, because what we find out from him is after all of that, when they're doing all the moving around because he's on the run, he said it's hard for her. So what he
I was talking about Maggie moving, but I'll get back to this one.
Yeah, no, I'm finishing my answer for Negan and Annie.
Okay.
When he talks about, he says that it got hard for Annie. So what he did was he put them on a wagon train to Missouri, and he told them that he would follow them, but he never did because he didn't want his troubles following after them. He wanted them safe.
Yeah.
So I feel like I don't think if she was in that kind of a vulnerable position, I don't see Negan putting her and their son on a train wagon with people they don't know, with people who are going to make sure that they're protected. So maybe, again, maybe that was part of the Commonwealth, like, oh, okay, we're going to expand out, because again, let's go back to the whole thing. If you stay in one area for long enough, you've exhausted all the game, you've exhausted a lot of the resources, you've exhausted most of the places.
And they were doing that already. They were doing that already. Again, they had fresh hair pieces, so they know what resources. They know where to go. You know what I'm saying? They had a wrestling pit. They know where to go for their resources. Okay. They had a lotto machine. I mean, they knew where to go. Okay. Commonwealth, they were expanded. I just, again,
it's the wig maker for me.
feel like, I just don't feel like they will go into a cabin. If he had said that, it would make more sense. They were doing something. And then here's my second point that I have an issue with. And then I'm done. Okay. Knowing Negan's past and what happened with Lucille, I still don't buy in his character, him leaving his wife and child. Yeah. I mean, you can come up with the reasons why I don't want this to follow. We were running because you can run across country. This new Babylon sheriff shit is only in this area right here.
That part.
Because there's other areas that have other sheriffs and other things, and they're not communicating. Clearly, we know that.
Right.
But his character, that is not what he wanted to do. If you had told me, if he had said she left him,
yeah,
because of what he did,
Mhm.
I would have bought that.
That's more
See,
believable.
I kind of think in a way he sent them away because of what he did, because he didn't. It's different when you're dealing with another adult, because another adult can look at things rationally and say, okay, I understand why he did this. I mean, think about it. Annie knew what he had done to Glenn and Abraham and all the other stuff that he did, and she still fell in love with him and married
Right.
him
And she
anyway.
still
Right.
actually
But-
ran with him when they were moving. She just got tired of doing it.
Right. But when you have a child, and one, you are trying to distance yourself from that person you used to be, that violent person. Now, who
Mhm.
knows, when he had to go kill those 5 men, maybe that awakened something in him. The hesitancy and the fear that we've seen in this episode. Maybe
Mhm.
he was like, I don't want my son to see this.
Right. But I still don't agree that he would have left them. I'm just saying the
For
character.
safety.
But you have to keep in mind, because I said the same thing about Michonne, because what would make you leave your 2 kids? You know what I mean? There has to be something.
Mhm. But
You know-
see, it's easier because she already had the trauma of her original kids, but they have a big support system, and
Right.
she's trying to bring the dad back home. So
Mhm.
that'd be like Annie leaving their child to bring Negan back home. But Negan been through so much. I just felt like 2 things should have happened. One, she left him, or something happened to them.
Yeah, no,
That would make more sense.
It makes sense to me that he would let them go. It really does.
He let go that one time and came back and stuff happened.
But see, that was something that was beyond his control.
I understand that.
He could control.
And he could control, but not knowing, I just don't feel like that's in his new character now. But that's just, I'm just saying that's just how I felt like. But a lot of their choices is some stuff that I don't. Some of Maggie's choices is not in her character, but I know it's again to set up. We don't need him with a child right now and a wife to worry about while he's helping Maggie.
Right.
But yet
But they could have.
Speaking, he has a child. So.
Right. And then put yourself, you see what I'm saying? Because you're going to go meet with them later on. Maybe. Are you? So you're just going to leave her with your son out there in the world?
I don't know. But I mean, he's also, if you think about it, he's not said that he was going to stay with Ginny. He told Ginny, I have been trying to find a safe place for you. Mm-hmm. So it's not like he's saying, oh, okay, I'm gonna take care of this girl and be her dad while his own child is out there in the world.
No, I didn't think anything that, but like, did he say he was gonna go back for his child and wife?
We haven't gotten that far. I think for the most part, he was telling that story to Maggie just to say, hey, we all make mistakes with the people that we love, and we all make decisions, or we do things that we think are in their best interest. Because what was it he said? He said, I hope that they're okay, and maybe I don't have a right to do that, but isn't that all we have in the end? Hope. I think that was more so let me share my story with you, especially since she asked about Annie, just
right.
Say, hey.
I don't know. It's just, it's one of those things I still.
Hopefully we'll get some more information, because that part of it does bother me, that you would put them on a wagon going to another state, because again, I don't feel like he would do that unless it was people that they knew. So it's kind of like, okay, so.
Right, because there's a lot of questions I have. So I'm on the same page with you on that. It's just, especially all the stuff he did, even when he stood up for everyone when they were at Alexander and he was on his knees when he realized what he had done. All of those things. And you have a chance again. And yes, you had, well, first of all, you did what you're supposed to do. She was attacked.
Right. You're supposed to.
I mean, you didn't go out and just murder somebody because you had a couple of beers in New Babylon.
Right. But
and again, you going to Oklahoma. Oklahoma ain't close to New Jersey.
Missouri. But
okay, I know where they went.
Yeah, he said Missouri. But I will say this too. Depending on what condition he left those 5 people in, that could have scared him too. If he pulled a Glenn and Abraham on them, or worse, I mean, think about it. The punishment for his capture, like I said in the first episode,
but he already know he got to do it.
Trial.
He know he got to do it. He knew he had to do it, so he
I know.
Spill their guts out.
But
what should scare him is the boy that he just smashed in the glass. That's who should have scared him from last episode.
No,
because you just quick.
No,
but I know because he killed the old lady. But
and he did it
because you quickly, you quickly. That wasn't even your wife and child.
Doesn't matter. She shared her pigeon with him.
I understand that. I agree, but I'm just saying you were snapped real quick to do that. Don't be scared that you killed some men who did things to your wife.
But you got to make a point, because these men, that man that you smashed through the window, is associated with someone who knows who you are. So right then, I feel like Negan, if he's going to make a show of who he is, he's got to come out strong. And again, this is something we have seen plainly on his face. He does not want to be this person anymore. He doesn't want to tap into that. You know, it's like, huh?
I don't think that.
I don't think so either.
He said, hold on. I don't remember if it was this episode or not, but he said this is something that's feeling real familiar, and that's a person I'm not trying to be, or I haven't wanted to be.
But he may not have wanted to be that person, but it's still in him, because as easily as he switched, knocking that man through that glass, as easily as he just fighting Luther,
right? Because you can't
easy as the thing.
Okay, so let's talk about the Luther fight. Let's talk about the Luther fight, because I don't even feel like in that fight he was trying to kill Luther. He was like, "Look,
I'm sorry, but if you run a cheese grater across somebody's head, there.
Oh, but because Luther was trying to kill him first. Now, that's a whole different thing, self-defense. Luther came at him. Negan was in there minding his own business, trying to.
I mean, he did tell him like stop a couple of times. Don't do this. He
was like, dude,
this ain't what you want.
Don't do this.
Luther was the one who kept pushing, and because you have this wanted poster in your pocket and you're reading off all these attributes, you think you know who the person is that's standing in front of you. Well, obviously you were not paying attention to that fucking poster. They told you do not approach for a reason. But again, fuck around and find out. Because you went after Negan right after he just told you he was in there looking for weapons for them to use against the Croat. So that should have told you right then and there. That motherfucker was prepared. You came at him. You got a cheese grater to the face. And again, I don't think he was trying to kill him. He was just trying to get him to stop. And he was like, look, this is not the fight you want. We're supposed to be fighting the same thing. Now, when he ran that cheese grater across his face and pushed him, and Luther
well, he also didn't know the push was going to kill him.
Because why would you think that, I'm going to push him and there's a pipe jutting out from the floor and his head is going to land in that pipe? He didn't think about any of that. He was basically like, you are not about to put us out on the street. Not tonight. And he said, look, we'll leave in the morning. If you really want us gone, we'll go. We'll leave in the morning. Luther had to be, no, y'all gonna leave right now. I bet you they didn't. And I mean, even with Luther falling on the pipe, implanting his head on the pipe, Negan could have easily left him there to suffer. Instead, he puts him out of his misery. Yes, it looks harsh to us because of the way he did it, pushing his head down on the pipe, but what else was he going to do?
Yeah, he don't want him to turn into a walker once he dies.
Right. Which, again, that's a whole different person than the person that we knew from 10 whatever years ago. So I don't know. It's just Luther fucked around and found out. Okay. But the other thing that happens in this episode is Maggie. Maggie is sitting there while they're trying to make their plans for the next day. And the chick with the walking stick comes in, and she's obviously one of the tribes people, or she's in that group. And when she empties her bag and Maggie sees the dino, immediately Maggie is thinking, oh, fuck, that means Ginny is here. And I thought at first that she would go and tell Negan, but then I thought about it just that quickly. I said, she's not going to tell Negan, because if Negan knows Ginny is there, that's going to be his priority.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, I got to go take care of her. And then Maggie
and not
is
help.
be right. And then Maggie is going to be with these other people who, let's be honest, at this point, between the tribes people and Negan, she's probably better off trusting Negan, because at least you know what he's capable of. You know how he thinks. And granted, after all of that stuff, the way that he's still trying to make amends right now, or at least trying to be cordial to you, at least you know he's not going to leave you for dead. At least you know if something happens to you, he's going to try his best to make it right. I mean, that's what he did with the guy with the window. That guy attacked the tribes people, and Negan got pissed off about it. So, you know, when she takes that dinosaur and she goes outside with the matches, which she still needs matches, but when she goes outside, I'm like, is she really gonna torch this thing? Like, and then of course, here's Ginny outside looking through a car window again, not a walker in sight, and she sees that Maggie is about to burn the dinosaur, but the episode goes off. So I was like, okay, is she gonna actually come out of hiding because of that dinosaur? Like, doesn't mean that much to her, which I'm figuring it probably does. I'm guessing that was probably something her dad gave her before he died. So I don't know. Like you said, I feel like people are making bad choices, bad decisions all around. Because Maggie, if you want these people to help you with your son, you need to show them that you care about them too. Okay. Luther, he got, you know, you reap what you sow. You went in there and attacked the boogeyman, and now your ass is sitting dead with a pipe in your head. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with Pearlie Armstrong. I really don't care. I'm just,
yeah, I don't either.
Hopefully this shit'll go away. Hopefully
I don't.
No, his face is going to be stuck.
I have no feelings for
I just
him.
don't like, aside from him being the reason that the Croat now knows that Negan is in town, I don't understand his whole purpose in this story. It just,
yeah, that's the hard part. It's like, I don't see his purpose appear in the story, but the only purpose is that Negan left his family for this, because then that's the sheriff that is chasing him. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that will just be the only reason to push us into this world of, he really did leave his wife and kid to go to Missouri.
Yeah.
And
but
he is about to go help.
I'm gonna be honest, I think we're some of the only few people that actually care, because I know a lot of people didn't like the whole Negan and Annie storyline.
Yeah, I and that's why I guess maybe I have a problem with it, because I feel like then it was just, we got them and now we're just gonna push them to the side.
Right.
So then at that point, we really didn't need him to be with Annie or to be pregnant.
I think they put him with her and made her pregnant, I feel like, to further humanize him.
Oh yeah, I agree. You know? And for him to get that point when his family is about to be murdered, but then the next storyline, we need to get rid of that family. Yeah. Yeah. And I know people enjoy it, but people didn't want him to have a family. I get it. You don't, first of all, you don't want him to have that, not a happy ending because you living in this world, so it's not all that happy, but to have some type of happiness.
They don't want him to have any type of redemption.
Yeah. Or
They
even or happiness. You don't have to be redeemed. You still can be a badass and still be happy, you know what I'm saying, with your gangster wife and son. But they don't want him to have nothing.
Right. But I mean, at least they told us so we can all stop wondering.
Yeah, like, oh, okay.
Because I'm gonna be honest, I liked her character, and I was like, oh, well, Negan is about to have a show, so maybe we'll see more of her. Because remember, my thought originally, when everybody was like, so if Maggie and Negan are going to New York, where's Hershel? I was like, Annie's probably babysitting them.
Yep. Now it's Hershel being kidnapped.
But then we figured out that Hershel was gonna get
kidnapped
again. Like,
yeah.
How many times is this for Hershel?
Yeah. But it makes me also think of when shows
how they need a whooping.
Right. It makes me think of when shows when the main characters have a kid and then the kid disappears. Like they never had the kid, but you made them have a kid.
We are not about to compare this to Family Matters. Come on now.
I mean, there's so many of them. They do it all the time. Like every show that they have kids and then the kids disappear. Like, what the kids at?
Mm-hmm. They went upstairs to their room and never came.
Yeah. Look, my favorite. Yeah. Like, yeah. So it's he had to be alone. It's a lot of decisions. Again, a lot of decisions.
Yeah. But okay, so let's see. Let's do a little wrap up. So Maggie is pissing everybody off because she's willing to sacrifice them all to save her child. Negan just was forced to kill someone because they want to fuck around and find out. The Croat just found out that his daddy figure is home and he's ready to show off all his goodies and how well he's done in school. Pearly Armstrong is just Pearly Armstrong. Ginny needs a whooping. And I will say this too. Tommaso and Amaya, I'm still kind of sort of on the fence about them because I understand Amaya is upset that they got raided and a couple of people got killed, including Esther, or as Michelle called her. What did you call her? Rose.
The Golden Girls. Rose.
I understand she's upset that they got killed, but you weren't even considering going after him when y'all had more people, and now all of a sudden you're gung-ho. Oh yeah, we'll distract his people while you go after your son and y'all kill him and this, that, and the other. She feels too willing to help. Whereas Luther was all the way on the opposite side, because I mean, even the way that she came at Luther was like, look, the decision has already been made. We're not doing this. She said, what are we supposed to do? Stand around holding our dicks? I was like, oh, okay. But again, it's like your people, y'all took it to a vote. They said no, and you're still like, oh, we're going to help. So in a sense too, it's almost like she's willing to risk their lives too for a stranger, which maybe that's the type of person she is. Maybe she's like, okay, you know what? If this woman's child is there and we can help, we can help. Okay, I don't have a problem with that either. But I don't know, something about her and Tommaso. And then they also kind of briefly focused on this, and I didn't really get a chance to think about it too much. So when Tommaso is telling them about how he escaped, because apparently at some point Tommaso was there with the Croats people. He would go and beg, and the Croat would throw him food and medicine, and then finally he came inside, but he was able to escape. When he's talking about this, Maggie notices his back, and his back looks like he has had chunks taken out of it, like he's been whipped with like a cat o' nine tails or something. But I was like, I feel like there's more to that story, but I don't want to necessarily say, oh, he's part of the Croats crew, because the tribes people are his family, and it's obvious him and Amaya are together. So I don't think he would like purposefully sell them out. But I don't know, something about those two is just kind of like I don't know, they feel too eager to try to go after this person who y'all have been terrified of for years. So I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I just want to know what this fallout is about to be like when they find Luther dead.
Yeah.
So I don't
Because
know.
they weren't in the same building that they were in, right?
They might have been, but I think Negan and Luther, maybe they were in a basement or
like a different room.
yeah, maybe they were on the other side of the building or something because Negan probably would have gone to, searching around like he said he was checking for weapons. Everybody else was in there packing their bags and, these are all family. These are all people. So they're in there talking with each other and stuff. So he probably snuck away when nobody was looking like, okay, ain't nobody gonna miss me. Let me go on ahead and do this. And just so happened Luther following him, probably trying to see what it is that he's doing.
Right.
Like maybe trying to make sure that Negan wasn't doing something. Because again, they did find out that him and the Croat knew each other in this episode. So maybe Luther was thinking, oh, that's how
Luther was already skeptical.
Right. Yeah, he was when he as soon as he walked into the room, he was sizing them up.
Maybe that's how they found us or something like that. Because again, the Barassi showed up right after they captured Negan and Maggie. So it could have been. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at it from the outside, we know different, but I mean, like I said, I don't blame Luther for being skeptical, but there's ways to handle certain things. And I know I made the joke in the last episode about Luther being a big boy, but size don't account for everything.
That's what I'm saying. That's why he was sizing him up. Like, see, he's a threat.
Mm-hmm. You got to have some smarts too, and Negan has that in spades.
Mm-hmm.
So
coming, remember?
Yeah.
But poor Luther didn't last long.
Nope. But I mean, it's only a 6 episode.
He had a fucking attitude. Y'all already know anybody with an attitude and hope got to go.
You're right.
Nobody will put up with that shitty shit.
Yeah.
Nobody won't.
But I mean, if you think about it, Pearlie's his two people, they didn't last long. Esther didn't last long. So
right now we're not attached to any of them.
No. Because the first person I did attach to was the bar owner. She was gone in 10 minutes.
But we weren't attached to her because we liked her character. We were attached to her because it was Michelle.
I know, but just thinking she was gonna be in the show for a while. But clearly, nobody's in the show for a while unless you Negan, Maggie, and Hershel.
Right, and let's be honest, we don't know what that's gonna look like. I've seen a lot of people speculate that Negan's probably going to sacrifice himself to save Hershel, or he's going to sacrifice himself to save Maggie, or that once they do rescue Hershel, when Hershel sees that it's Negan that's helped, he's probably going to try to kill Negan. Or at that point, Maggie won't need Negan anymore. Maybe she'll try to kill him. I've also seen people speculate that, and I think we touched briefly on this for the last episode. I've seen people say that maybe Maggie is using Negan or tricking Negan, like maybe she's bringing him to the Croat. But I'm like, why would she? I don't know. I guess if the Croat has already taken all of your food and he's taking your child, then if he says, hey, I want you to find this person, especially if Negan got posters all around,
right. Yeah,
he might be compelled to say, okay, let me go find him. But
yeah, I can see her doing that.
But I don't like.
It's for her son. She's willing to sacrifice innocent people she has never met, but in 10 minutes to sacrifice for her son.
No matter what you want me to do.
Yeah, so she's I can see her doing that. And then this is not a Steven Spielberg film, so Hershel could die.
This is true.
Kids can die too.
I mean, think about it. Carl was supposed to grow up to be the leader of Alexandria, and he ended up getting killed in the show.
Yeah. So we
might not get no next gen stuff.
So we don't know.
Well,
the only thing that we did mention, and Friends, no, I don't favor the villains. I'm just giving some backstory here. The Croat, he has issues because he had to come home to smell his burning family being cooked for a barbecue
You know,
for a fellow family that was starving. So he has some problems. And then he tortured people. That's why I'm like, you were a scientist, but you could also have been a murderer too
but that
in
could
your
also
time.
have been something he picked up after his family was killed. You know, at that point, when
Your
you
love of
nothing to lose.
torturing is something you also may have picked up when you were a kid. I don't know. That don't come as easy.
No, but
Healing,
when you're in this type of world,
torturing,
when you're in
torturing
this
is
type of
different.
world and there
Yeah.
is no punishment,
But
then
that means you bringing out something that's internal. Torturing is
Already there.
completely different.
It was
Torturing
already
is inside.
yeah.
That you get some pleasure for some torture.
Yeah.
And
But
he
you
likes
know
the
what?
theatrics too. He liked the theatrics.
Yes.
So he a little different.
So I was online and somebody mentioned something that made me think, and I was like, oh, I didn't get a chance to go back and try to find the scene. But apparently, like when the Saviors first got on the scene, and I think this was before they actually met Negan, when it was more so like the stories of Negan and who he was and what he did was going around. There was supposedly a conversation about the fact that Negan killed a 14-year-old. And I was like, I wonder, is this the person that Negan was talking about that the Croat killed? Because remember, he said she was just a kid. Now, I
Could
wouldn't have
be.
thought kid as in 14-year-old, but if that was the conversation, that might make sense, because if we remember, there were a lot of things attributed to Negan that he actually did not do or did not order. Case in
But
point, Simon and the Scavengers.
mm-hmm.
So that could have been something that they were like, oh yeah, this Negan did this. But remember, at that time, everybody was Negan.
Right.
And
And
then
that
when
was,
you're the leader, you got to take responsibility for. They gonna pin it all on you anyway.
yeah. And they could have been doing, I mean, they could have been doing that just to kind of add to his, I don't know what you want to call it, add to his profile, add to his,
Mm-hmm.
his scariness. Like,
Notoriety.
oh, yeah, that. So, but now I'm sitting here thinking, like, oh, was that the Croat? Like, is that one of the ways that they're tying it together? Was that actually the Croat, and that was the reason why
Yeah,
Negan
it would.
put him out?
That's
Because
a good one. It
remember,
would make sense.
yeah, because remember, Negan had a rule: no kids. We don't do that to kids. And his other was, we don't rape women. So that could be the whole, the tying piece between him and the Croat.
Right.
So I don't know, but you guys have any final thoughts on this episode? Oh, you know what? We didn't mention that little dinner scene. I do want to mention that before we close out. The little dinner scene where they all sat around and they
had their mementos.
Yeah, they kind of, I guess, paid tribute to their lost ones with like these little pieces. I thought that was a really nice scene. And then, you see Maggie and Negan sitting there just kind of looking. And then I noticed when Negan closed his eyes, Maggie had a folded piece of paper that she grabbed and she closed her hand on. And at first I was like, is that the drawing of Glenn? But no, that was on gray paper. I think she has another wanted poster. I think that's what that was.
Are you sure? I thought it was the picture of Glenn.
I don't think it was the picture of Glenn.
Oh, I thought it was a picture of Glenn too.
Because the wanted poster is on this yellowish kind of paper. But I was thinking, like, when they were having the conversation after he had told her about Annie, the way that she was looking at him, I think one of the reasons why Maggie continues being a dick to him is because if she lets her guard down, she has to actually start looking at him as a human being. Right. And I don't think she wants to do that. But she was looking at him during that scene And I was like, what is going on with her? Because she was looking at him in a weird way. Not like she was, I don't know how to explain it. It was something about the way she was looking at him. I was like, huh, something's going on. Or maybe she didn't. I don't want to say she didn't tell him the truth, because I think that story she told him about her and Hershel's argument, I think that's a little too personal for her to make up. And then we also saw the flashback of her and Hershel not getting along. So I think that was true. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Maybe we'll learn something else in the next episode, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's true about Hershel because one, he's a teenager. So that happens.
Yeah. Get off my back. Okay. But
we're gonna find out, won't we?
And you get
listen
kidnapped
to
because
your
you didn't
mama.
listen to
Had
me.
you gone to the root cellar, your ass might
Swear to
still be-
God.
Right. So, that's true.
Right. So
So
oh, but you guys have any final thoughts about episode 3? We are halfway through already. I don't like these short little 6 episodes.
Oh no, keep in mind the first season of The Walking Dead was only 6 episodes, so
yeah, but we knew we were getting another season.
well, I didn't know that. I didn't start season 3. So.
Oh well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But we don't know what's going on with this one. We may get some news this weekend because San Diego Comic-Con is this weekend, and even though the writers and the actors are striking right now, there is going to be an AMC panel. I believe it's on Friday, and they are supposed to present some information about the spinoffs as far as the ones that have already completed filming. So we know
continuation.
Whatever, spinoffs. I think in the
I
description.
say it's a spinoff now, Casey. I left your team, especially since we haven't mentioned any other parts of the last season.
Yeah.
No
So,
Commonwealth.
Yes.
Annie and Josh was gone. So this is a spinoff.
Yes, thank you, spinoff. But anyway, so like I was
no
saying,
continuing
the
nothing.
Daryl Dixon first season has already filmed. They've started doing some promotion for it, so we may get some news on that. Oh, we also do have a release date for the Daryl Dixon show. I believe that is September 10th. Let me look real quick. September 10th is the release of the Daryl Dixon show. That's when it premieres. The Rick and Michonne show has finished filming. I don't know where they are in the editing process. I'm hoping this weekend we get some kind of information for it, but I know anything else that would be in production, like the second season of the Daryl Dixon show, they have shut down production on that because of the strike. So maybe by the time we record for I would say maybe episode 5, we will have some spinoff news that we can share and discuss. Have you guys seen any of the teaser trailers for Daryl Dixon yet?
I saw the nun one. I saw him walking through all the countryside.
The walking, and the one with the nuns. Okay, so the one with the nuns really.
I didn't see the nuns. I only seen the walking.
Okay, so
walking.
I will share that with you once we close out. But yeah, that one is
and walking.
Intriguing because I'm like, how? What?
Okay. They got a whole lot of questions to answer in this first damn episode.
And
if they don't answer all these questions in this first episode, it's gonna lose me. Because how the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it has to make sense.
That part.
But Daryl,
I feel like that's like our catchphrase for these spinoffs right now. Make it make sense. Because I know I said it a lot with the first half of season 8 for Fear. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to with Daryl Dixon. How the hell is Daryl Dixon ending up in France? Daryl.
And from that one little thing, he was floating on top of a boat. Your ass ain't floated across some seas to get from America to Paris.
Right.
It would take longer than that little float boat. You be floating on that boat. You be a skeleton by the time you got over there.
Especially the way sharks and whales have been attacking boats lately. Like, I mean, I realize we're on a different timeline from them. We're in the multiverse, but yeah, I just don't see that happening. So yeah, they're gonna have to be very thorough when they explain this, because I mean, this is Daryl, who didn't even like going to the other communities. Daryl, who didn't like being
He
in a
didn't
house.
even like taking a bath. Y'all done sent him across the ocean in a whole bunch of water.
So yeah.
Come on now. Come on now. Remember, Carol was like, you need a shower. Come on now.
Yeah. I'm gonna take that vest off you and hold you down. Okay. So I guess we'll figure that out. Or hopefully, again, we may have some information by this weekend with San Diego Comic-Con. If we do, we will share that on our next recording. But for now, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and Threads at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.